I'm Parth, and today we're going to be discussing Persia, India, and China, and the ancient civilizations that they were. So this is like three ancient civilizations into one video, so it's going to be a broad overview on each civilization. So first off, Persia. It was built on the Indus, Mesopotamian, and Nile River civilizations, and it developed one of the largest empires in the entire world, and Zoroastrianism was the main Persian religion, although other religions were tolerated. I'll get to that in a bit. So first off, it's located in present-day Iran, and it has tolerated conquered people. So basically, if they conquered people, which they did a lot, they weren't like, "Oh, you must convert to us, you must be our slaves." They weren't like that. What they were doing instead was they let them live their lives. They just had extra land, and that's why they were known as nice people. They weren't really that nice, but like considering what other empires did to their conquered peoples, it's quite lavish and quite nice, to be honest. And so they also developed an imperial bureaucracy, and they also constructed a road system. And they also practiced Zoroastrianism, as I mentioned before, which is the religion of Persia, and it's actually a belief in two opposing forces in the universe. And so now let's move on to India. So classic Indian civilization began in the Indus River Valley and spread to Ganges River Valley and spread on throughout the entire Indian subcontinent. And this spread continued with little interruption due to geographic location. And so actually some historians are, well, divided over whether migrations actually occurred or other Indian civilizations grew from within. But the spread within from the Harappan civilization and the Vedic period really did shape Indian society, and so historians are a little divided on that, but don't worry about that. And so physical barriers, Himalayas, Hindu Kush Mountains, and the Indian Ocean, which made invasion difficult. However, there was several passes in the Hindu Kush, which provided migration routes into the Indian subcontinent, the most famous of which was probably the Khyber Pass. And the Indus and Ganges were the two most important rivers in the entire Indian subcontinent. And so there were two main Indus River Valley civilizations, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. And so origins of Indian society, non-indigenous. There's a debate over Aryan migration and influences versus dominance, and versus indigenous. I can't say that word. Indigenous. I can't really say this again. Indigenous. Okay, yeah, I said it. Indigenous contributions. And the caste system did not fully emerge until later in Indian history, but its roots are in the Varnas and Jati system. And so Varnas were essentially idealized in the Vedas to organize society equally by skill. And as more occupations developed in ancient India, it came to be known as a top-down, birth-based caste system. And so there was also a Mauryan Empire, which was led by Ashoka, and that was essentially a continued political unification of much of India. And so basically, it led to what it contributed to. It led to the spread of Buddhism. It made free hospitals, veterinary clinics, good roads, and that's quite a lot. But then this next empire, the Gupta Empire, was quite a bit more than that and was considered the golden age of ancient Indian culture. And so some of the contributions, mathematics, concept of zero, already pretty big already. That doesn't make sense. Already pretty big. That makes sense. Medical advances, setting bones, cesarean section, stuff like that. Astronomy, concept of a round earth, new textiles, and literature. And so religion. Hinduism was a major cultural product of classical India. It influenced Indian society greatly. And so Hinduism essentially has belief in many forms of one capital G God, and reincarnation, which is rebirth based upon karma. And karma is the knowledge that all thoughts and actions result in future consequences. The Vedas and Upanishads were sacred writings, and they were spread along major trade routes. And so now Buddhism, founder. Oh, also for Hinduism, we don't have really a known founder for that. It's just mainly a group of people who started believing in one core value and then evolved, and so here we are today. And so Buddhism founder Siddhartha Gautama Gautama. I can't say that even though I'm Indian. He was essentially Buddha. There were four noble truths, and there was an eightfold path to enlightenment. And Ashoka had missionaries, and he spread writings of Buddhism from India to China and other parts of Asia. And so now we're moving on to China. So, essentially, classical China was centered around the Wang He. Am I saying that right? Wang He. I don't know. I started pronouncing things. The Yellow River, and was geographically isolated. Invaders entered China from the north, and the Great Wall was built for China's protection. And there are two main products, if you will, of Chinese civilization, and they are Confucianism and Taoism. And so, migratory invaders raided Chinese settlements from the north. Qinshi, let's say that, built the Great Wall as a line of defense against invasions, and China was governed by a succession of ruling families called dynasties. And Chinese rulers were considered divine, but they served under a mandate of heaven only as long as their rule was just. And so there was, essentially, the mandate of heaven is basically one person gets the mandate of heaven, they have it for a certain number of time, and then they move on and move on and move on, and yeah. And so the Silk Road facilitated trade and contact between China and other cultures as far away as Rome. And some products of classical China, in addition to Confucianism and Taoism, was the civil service system, paper, porcelain, and silk. And so the impact of Confucianism in forming the social order of China, essentially what it thought was belief that humans are essentially good, not bad, respect for elders, you should have that anyways, code of harmony, which is still used in Chinese society today, emphasis on learning, and ancestor worship. And so the impact of Taoism in forming Chinese culture and values: humility, simple life and inner peace, harmony with nature. And the yin and yang represent opposites for Confucianism and Taoism. And the Chinese forms of Buddhism spread throughout Asia. And so that's pretty much it for this video, I guess. Thanks for listening to this, and I hope you have a great day.